Welcome back to Universal Garden Solutions. I'm William Plumstead, and I want to talk about what not to do. Well, this year, being we had the COVID-19, we had nothing to eat in the supermarkets, everything was closed, there was no healthy food. I'm like, let's take the dog run. I no longer have the big wolf dogs here. And I'm like, let's make that into like greenhouses and grow garden inside there, and to hell with it, we don't have to worry about buying food from the supermarket. We'll save some money. So we decided to build these hoop houses and to plant our stuff back in March, the end of March, and they grew wonderfully. Here's the problem that we had. You don't want to put high stuff with low stuff. Depends on your sun exposure. So being that the sun comes from east to west, we should have had the string beans back behind the squash, and we should also put the string beans far enough away from everything else so it doesn't smother the vegetables. It's smothered the broccoli, it's killing, it's shading the lettuce. It was a complete mess in this bed. However, it's working out somewhat. We're eating everything, but we didn't plant it right. And Diana's going to go over with you how to plant everything properly and everything you need to know from us doing everything wrong.
So to learn from our mistakes, planting your garden for our exposure, that way is east and this way is west. So what you want to do is plan your lowest crops at the front of your bed if you have that type of exposure, the east to the west. So here we have carrots, then we planted lettuce, broccoli, green beans. So as you can see, the broccoli really never came to fruition and the lettuce is getting smothered in this bed. And then if you move along down, we have kale, which ended up doing okay, surprisingly, even though the green beans are here. And then we have cucumbers and squash. So those all should have been towards the front of this bed because they're lower growing plants, and then you go higher up as you basically make your bed. So from the north side, we're on the east coast, so on the north side you want your lower plants, and then the southern side you want your taller plants. In the next bed, in this bed we started out just wanting to do all herbs, which was a great idea, and we just again kind of didn't plant the heights right. So we have our basil, which is doing awesome in the front row, and then dill. They're similar heights, so that wasn't too bad. But then we planted parsley and cilantro, which is a really low growing herb. And then we had extra space, so we're like, let's just throw some corn in there because we have some extra space. And as you can tell, it just doesn't make much logical sense. So we really should have had the herbs that are lower, the parsley and the cilantro up front, and then maybe the dill, the basil in either order, and then if we wanted the corn in this bed right at the end in a taller crop. More than likely next year we'll plant the corn elsewhere because it does tend to grow really fast and really tall really quickly. And in this bed, our third raised bed, we did our lettuce first, which as you can see again, a taller growing vegetable, and then our beets. Definitely should have put the lettuce all the way at the end of this box. Started off with maybe the squash, which is growing towards the ground, and then it kind of vines out all over the place, so make sure you have a lot of room outside of your grow bed. And then maybe your beets, or we could have done the carrots. You could also do an entire bed of just low-lying things like carrots and beets and squash, whatnot, all in one bed, and maybe put the lettuce at the very end because that does have a tendency to grow taller. At the end of this bed we had green beans, and the green beans we had to pull out because they didn't do so well. So we have to reinvestigate that for next year. Another little tip that we didn't have our landscapers do, which we will remedy this year, is to make sure you dig deep enough when you do your raised beds, and then to put a liner underneath so that the weeds and the grass don't poke through, because we're having to, if you can see here, pull grass and pull weeds pretty much on a daily basis. And the expression "it grows like weeds" is an expression for a reason, because I feel like I'm out here every day, and for every one that I pull, like 20 little ones pop up. So do yourself a favor and plan your garden out accordingly.
Thank you for watching our channel. Please subscribe and like our channel and help us with our mission, Camp Hope, to feed and shelter the homeless. God bless America.